She ran. Not because she wanted to be brave. Not because she had a plan. She ran because stopping meant dying. Her bare feet slammed into frozen earth, sharp stones biting through skin already numb with cold. Snow swallowed the sound of her steps, but it couldn't hide the blood. Dark streaks followed her like a confession she couldn't erase. Every breath tore through her chest, ragged and uneven, fog spilling from her lips in desperate bursts. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred. Still, she ran. The forest was alive tonight, and not in a kind way. Branches clawed at her arms as if trying to drag her back. The wind screamed through the trees, wild and furious, echoing the chaos inside her chest. The storm above matched her perfectly, violent, unforgiving, restless. It felt like the world itself had decided she didn't deserve mercy. She knew they were close. She didn't need to look back to feel them. The pressure of it crawled up her spine. Wolves, hunters, pack enforcers loyal to a crown built on lies, loyal to a man who wore the alpha title like stolen skin. Their presence pressed in on her senses, thick and suffocating, each step behind her a reminder that she had never truly belonged anywhere. Her ankle buckled. She stumbled, barely catching herself on a frozen tree trunk. Pain shot up her leg, sharp and bright, and for one terrifying second, panic nearly swallowed her whole. That was when it happened. A heat bloomed beneath her skin. Silver. Wild. Alive. It flared through her veins like lightning, begging to be released. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as the power surged, impatient, dangerous. The same power they had feared. Like the same power they had named a curse. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to her chest, forcing it down. Not now, her mind screamed, raw with fear. Not again. She had learned the cost of losing control. Learned it in whispers and bruises and exile. Learned it the night they turned their backs on her and called it protection. A shadow moved behind her. Not a trick of the storm. Not her imagination. Something large. Fast. Hunting. Her breath hitched. Terror wrapped tight around her ribs, squeezing until it hurt to think. She pushed herself forward again, legs screaming in protest, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break free. And somewhere, deep beneath the fear, a single thought whispered through the noise. If she fell tonight, the forest would remember her blood long after her name was forgotten. So she ran, wounded, rejected, burning from the inside out, into the darkness, chased by fate and the lie of a false alpha. And before the moon rises higher, before the hunt reaches its end, subscribe to Moonlight Mate's story. Because here, destinies are never gentle, and survival always has a price. The forest changed before she saw him. The pressure hit first, heavy, commanding, undeniable. It rolled through the trees like a silent command, bending the night around it. The howling wind faltered. The wolves behind her slowed, their pursuit breaking not with noise but with instinctive fear. Something else was here. She staggered to a stop, chest heaving, heart slamming so hard it hurt. The silver heat inside her recoiled, not in panic, but in recognition. Her blood went cold even as her skin burned. Then he stepped out of the shadows. He didn't rush. I didn't bare his teeth, didn't shift. He simply appeared, tall and still, the storm bowing around him like it knew better than to touch him. Moonlight caught sharp edges, broad shoulders, calm eyes, a presence so controlled it felt dangerous. This wasn't the wild aggression of hunters. This was dominance refined. Held back? Chosen? The wolves behind her stopped completely. One low growl slipped from the dark. Another faded. Then nothing. Silence swallowed the forest. She turned slowly, every muscle tight, ready to run or fight or break apart. She didn't know which. Her body trembled, exhaustion clawing at her bones, blood loss making the world tilt. His gaze found her. Not her wounds. Not the blood. Her. And then he said her name. Soft. Certain. Like he had spoken it 1,000 times already. The sound froze her where she stood. No one had said her name like that in years. Not without disgust. Not without fear. Her breath caught. "How do you know me?" The question barely made it past her lips. He didn't answer right away. His eyes traced her face, her shaking hands, the way she leaned slightly to protect her side. He studied her like a truth that had finally stepped into the open. "I've been watching you," he said at last. No apology, no shame, just fact. Her stomach twisted. Watching meant knowing. Knowing meant danger. Behind him, one of the pursuers stepped forward, anger snapping through the fear. "She doesn't belong here." The man didn't even look back. The alpha energy surged then. Not loud, not violent, but absolute. The air thickened. The ground seemed to settle under his authority. The wolves retreated without a single command spoken aloud, gone as quickly as they'd come. When she looked back at him, her pulse was racing for an entirely different reason. He stood too close now. Heat radiated from him, steady and grounding, and it made her painfully aware of every inch of space between them. Her fear tangled with something else, relief she didn't want, gratitude she didn't trust, and an attraction that made her angry with herself. She took a step back. He didn't follow. Smart. "You should be afraid of me," she said, voice tight. A faint curve touched his mouth. Not a smile. Something older. Sadder. "I know exactly what you are," he replied quietly. "And I'm still here." That was when she felt it. The truth beneath his restraint. Power layered under control. Secrets buried deep. An alpha who was hiding something just as dangerous as the silver fire burning inside her. And for the first time that night, she didn't know whether she had been saved or claimed. She didn't remember falling asleep. One moment she was standing in the frozen forest, spine rigid, every instinct screaming not to trust him. The next, warmth wrapped around her like a quiet tide pulling her under. When she came back to herself, the world felt slower, dimmer, safer in a way that made her uneasy. Firelight flickered against stone. She lay on a bed of furs inside a shallow cave, the cold kept out by thick rock and something stronger than walls. Her arm was bandaged. Clean. The bleeding had stopped. The ache remained, deep and pulsing, but it was no longer screaming. And that was when the memories came. They always did when her guard dropped. She saw herself younger, barefoot on packed earth, standing in the center of the pack circle while everyone watched. She remembered the smell of pine smoke and damp fur. The night of her first marking was supposed to be sacred. A celebration. Proof that she belonged. But when the mark flared beneath her skin, it wasn't gold. It burned silver. Not soft. Not warm. Violent. Bright. Alive. She remembered the way the elders recoiled, how the murmurs spread like rot through the crowd. She remembered clutching her arm, teeth chattering as the heat tore through her veins, and realizing, too late, that this wasn't a blessing. Abomination, someone whispered. Unstable. Dangerous. The word cursed had followed her for years. They never let her complete her first full shift. Never taught her control. They watched her like a fault line waiting to split. And when the silver fire surfaced again, wild, untrained, scared, they didn't try to help her. They exiled her. She learned hunger before she learned trust. Learned how to sleep light, how to run fast, how to bury pain so deep it felt like part of her bones. She learned that belonging was a lie told to wolves who fit neatly into the world. Her bloodline had been mentioned only once, in a warning hissed behind closed doors. Forbidden. Best forgotten. Alphas, to her, were not saviors. They were judges. Executioners dressed in leadership. Which was why the man outside the cave unsettled her so deeply. She could feel him even without seeing him. A steady presence. Not looming. Not claiming. Just there. Like he was standing guard without needing thanks. That was the dangerous part. He hadn't demanded her loyalty, hadn't tried to bind her with promises or fear. He had watched her, yes, but not like the others had. Not like a threat. Like a question. Her chest tightened as she stared at the low stone ceiling, silver warmth flickering faintly under her skin. She didn't want hope. Hope made you careless. Hope got you hurt. And yet, when she thought of his voice saying her name, something in her chest loosened. Just a little. Enough to scare her more than the hunters ever had. The forest changed the deeper they went. The trees grew older, thicker. Their roots rose from the earth like knotted veins, breaking stone, bending the ground around them as if the land itself remembered something the world had tried to forget. The air cooled, not with cold, but with stillness. Sound dulled. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. She felt it before she saw it. A pressure behind her eyes. A pull in her chest. And the silver beneath her skin stirred, not sharp this time, but slow and deliberate, like something waking after a long sleep. They stepped into the grove together. Stone pillars circled the clearing, half swallowed by moss and time, their surfaces carved with symbols worn smooth by centuries of weather and waiting. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, the markings reacted. Lines etched deep into the stone breathed to life, glowing faintly, silver answering silver. Her breath caught. The light wasn't blinding. It was intimate, as if the stones recognized her. Her knees weakened and the world tilted. Images crashed into her without warning. Fire, silver fire, coiling through darkness, not destroying, but reshaping. Moonlight poured over a woman standing alone at the edge of ruin, her back straight, and her hands steady while the world behind her burned and bloomed at the same time. Wolves knelt. Not in fear, in recognition. She gasped, clutching her chest as the vision deepened, sharpened. A voice rose beneath the images, old and layered, not loud, but impossible to ignore. The one with the mark, her skin prickled. The child of the flame. The words sank into her bones, heavy and final. She staggered back, shaking her head, fighting the pull of it. No. She had heard whispers of prophecy before. Warnings dressed up as legends. Stories elders used to justify fear. They had looked at her silver mark and seen an ending, not a beginning. They had feared this. And fear had taught them to destroy what they didn't understand. "I'm not that," she whispered, the denial raw, almost pleading. "I've never been chosen, never wanted." Destiny felt like a weight pressing down on her ribs, demanding space she didn't have. It wasn't beautiful. It was terrifying. It asked for everything she had spent her life protecting. She turned to him then, desperate to ground herself in something real. The alpha hadn't moved. He stood at the edge of the grove, eyes fixed on her, not with hunger or command, but reverence. And beneath it, something darker. Regret. Guilt. Like he had known this place would answer her. Like he had brought her here anyway. The silver light reflected in his gaze, and for the first time she wondered if he wasn't just watching history unfold, but standing in its shadow, knowing his part in it was already written. And that scared her more than the prophecy ever could. The grove did not stay hidden for long. Power never does. The air shifted first. Sharp, invasive, heavy with huge presence that did not belong. The silver glow on the stones flickered, dimming as if the land itself sensed what was coming. Her spine stiffened before the sound reached her ears. Boots against earth. Too many. Too deliberate. They were found. Torches cut through the trees, firelight clashing with moonlight as figures emerged from the shadows. Rival alphas. Their wolves paced just beneath their skin, eyes bright with suspicion, teeth too close to the surface. Authority rolled off them in waves meant to crush resistance before it could form. "She's the cursed one," someone spat, pointing at her like she was a sickness. "The silver mark," another growled. "That power breaks packs. She'll tear loyalty apart. You know it." The words struck like stones, familiar and sharp. Old accusations, dragged into the open again, dressed as concern but dripping with fear. They forced her into the center of the clearing. What had been sacred moments ago turned into a stage. Stones that once glowed for her now stood silent as judgment gathered. The ritual markings beneath her feet felt colder, heavier, like they were being used against her. She didn't fight it. She stood still, chin lifted, breath steady only because she refused to let them see her shake. The demand came swiftly. She must leave. For the good of all packs. Before her power chooses destruction. Then the weight shifted. All eyes turned to him. The alpha beside her, silent, unmoving, was given the choice she had known was coming. Loyalty or her. Pack or truth. Order or the unknown fire standing at his side. The pause was brief. But it was enough. That hesitation sliced deeper than any blade. Deeper than exile. Deeper than rejection ever had. Because this time, she had allowed herself to hope. And hope, she realized, was the most dangerous thing of all. She felt the silver stir, answering her hurt with heat, cracking the earth beneath her boots. Wolves backed away instinctively as power bled into the ground, not exploding, but warning. She looked at him once. Not pleading. Not accusing. Just seeing. Then she stepped back. I won't stay where I'm feared, her silence seemed to say. And I won't beg to exist. She turned and walked away from the grove, from the circle, from him. Each step was steady, intentional. Not the retreat of a broken omega, but the departure of someone who had finally chosen herself. Behind her, the world shouted. Packs argued. Authority barked orders. She didn't look back. Inside her chest, something hardened. Not cold, but unbreakable. An oath formed quietly, without ceremony. She would never beg again. The night settles after chaos the way a held breath finally breaks. Quiet, fragile, unsure it's safe to exist. She doesn't stop running until the forest thins and stone walls rise from the earth like a secret kept too long. A cave opens before her, narrow and hidden, warmed by a small fire she barely remembers lighting. The flames flicker low, painting the walls in amber and shadow. Her body aches now that the adrenaline is gone. Not from wounds, but from holding herself together. She stares into the fire, hands wrapped around her knees, listening to her own breathing. Every crack of burning wood sounds too loud. Every memory presses too close. She tells herself she's alone again, that this is how it always ends. Then the air shifts. Not threatening, not chasing. Familiar. He doesn't step into the light right away. He stays at the edge of the cave where shadows cling to him like unfinished thoughts. When he finally speaks, his voice is quieter than she expects. Stripped of command. Bare. I didn't choose the title they gave me. She doesn't turn. She doesn't need to. She feels the truth in the way his words land. Heavy, careful, like he's afraid they might shatter. He moves closer, stopping well short of touching her. Respectful. Uncertain. I'm not the alpha they believe I am, he admits. I'm wearing a crown meant for someone else. Someone who hasn't risen yet. The fire pops softly between them. He tells her he's been holding the line. Holding the pack together. Protecting a future that scares him as much as it calls to him. That everything he does is calculated. Controlled. Because if he slips, everything collapses. She finally looks at him then. Really looks. Not the alpha. Not the savior. Just a man exhausted by pretending. Her voice, when it comes, is raw. I'm afraid of what happens when I stop holding back. The silver beneath her skin stirs at the confession, like it's listening. Like it knows she's speaking the truth she's buried her whole life. I don't know if I'll hurt everyone, she whispers, or if I'll lose myself. He kneels in front of her, slow enough that she can pull away if she wants to. She doesn't. His hand hovers near her cheek, not touching, asking without words. I see you, he says. All of you. Not the fear they project onto you. Not the prophecy. You. Their faces draw close. Breath mingles. The space between them tightens until it hums. A kiss hangs there, unfinished, trembling with possibility. He stops himself first. And somehow, that restraint hurts more and heals more than anything else. Hope flickers in her chest. Small. Dangerous. Alive. They don't even let her speak. They drag her into the open circle at dawn, when the snow is still blue with cold and the pack is half awake, half hungry for spectacle. Word spreads faster than fire ever could. Wolves gather. Elders arrive wrapped in authority and fear. Every eye finds her like a blade. Her name is spoken aloud, followed by the truth she spent her life hiding. Gasps ripple through the crowd when the silver mark is revealed. Not gold. Not common. Silver, alive beneath her skin, pulsing like it's breathing. The murmurs turn sharp, accusatory, familiar. She's the one, someone says. Not in awe, in terror. The council steps forward as one body, robes heavy, voices practiced. They don't tell the prophecy as it was written. They bend it, twist it, strip it of hope until only threat remains. Her power will end us, they declare. The child of the flame brings ruin, death, collapse. The words fall like stones. Each one lands on her chest, crushing something soft and fragile she didn't know she still carried. Execution is demanded, not later, not debated, now. She turns to him then. Just once. Not to beg, not to plead, to see. For a heartbeat, he says nothing. His jaw tightens. His hands curl. The weight of the pack presses into his spine, into the lie he's been wearing like armor. He looks at the elders, at the wolves, at the future he's been guarding with silence. And he hesitates. It's brief, barely visible, but it's enough. Something inside her breaks. Not loudly, not dramatically. It fractures the way ice does underfoot. Silent. Final. The silver beneath her skin answers before she can stop it. Fire explodes outward, not red, not wild. Silver white, clean and furious. Snow ignites midair. Frost turns to steam. The ground cracks beneath her feet as power rips free of every chain she's ever wrapped around herself. Wolves stumble back, howling. Elders scream. The circle shatters. She doesn't feel cold anymore. She doesn't feel fear. Only grief, sharp as glass, and rage that burns with purpose. She looks at him once more through the storm she's become. There are no words left, no questions. Then she turns. Silver fire swallows her whole, and she vanishes into the night, leaving scorched earth, broken lies, and a silence so deep it echoes. And for the first time, the pack understands. They didn't cast out a curse. They unleashed it. She comes back when the world is already bleeding. The ritual circle is carved deep into the earth, old symbols glowing sickly red, fed by fear and blood. Wolves scream as they're forced to kneel. Innocents, omegas, pups, elders too weak to fight, are trapped at the edges, bound by chains of iron and obedience. The air stinks of smoke and panic. Power is being stolen, torn from the land itself, and the forest groans under it. They don't see her at first. Then the wind changes. Silver light spills between the trees, slow and deliberate, like dawn arriving early and angry. She steps into the clearing, and the ground answers her. Stones tremble. The symbols flicker, uncertain, as if recognizing their true master too late. She is calm now. Terrifyingly calm. No fear in her eyes. No apology in her stance. The silver flame no longer fights her from the inside. It moves with her breath, wraps around her bones, crowns her like a living oath. Her voice carries before she speaks, heavy with something ancient. Enough. The word is not shouted. It doesn't need to be. The chains snap. The ritual fractures. Power rips free from the false altar and rushes toward her like it's been starving. Ancestors rise in whispers only she can hear, voices layered with strength, grief, and pride. They don't guide her. They stand behind her. She lifts one hand, and fire rolls across the battlefield in a clean arc. Not wild. Not cruel. It burns only what deserves to burn. Enemies fall to their knees, stripped of borrowed power. The earth splits, then seals, choosing her side. The true villain steps forward at last, cloaked in stolen authority, sneering even as the ground betrays him. He calls her sacrifice. Weapon. Mistake. She meets his gaze without flinching, I was never yours, she says, and the flame answers for her. When she strikes, it's final. Not vengeance, justice. The kind that ends stories instead of prolonging them. Behind her, the pretending alpha watches it all unfold. The woman he failed. The power he doubted. The future he traded for fear. Understanding hits him harder than any blow. He didn't lose her when she ran. He lost her the moment he chose silence. She turns away from the ruins without looking back, silver fire dimming to a steady glow beneath her skin. The battlefield is quiet now. The forest breathes again. She is no sacrifice. She is the reckoning. The forest is still. Smoke curls lazily from the broken ritual circle, carrying the scent of ash, sweat, and fear. Wolves stir at the edges, wary, unsure, as if sensing that something has shifted, something irreversible. She stands at the center, the faint glow of silver beneath her skin pulsing like a heartbeat, steady now, full of purpose, full of life. Behind her, he moves closer, the pretending alpha, the one who hesitated, who doubted, who almost lost everything, his golden eyes wide with something that borders on desperation. He drops to one knee, voice raw, fractured. Stay. Don't leave me. Don't leave us. Her gaze sweeps the horizon. Moonlight drapes across the jagged treetops, silver and cold, illuminating the path forward but leaving the past in shadow. Her chest heaves. Not from exhaustion, but from the weight of choices she has already made, the life she has reclaimed, and the power she has finally claimed as her own. She does not answer immediately. Silence stretches between them, long, heavy, electric. And then the questions rise, whispered but clear. Would you have followed her, even if fear clawed at your bones? Would you have understood the fire inside her, the strength that no chains, no mockery, no council decree could ever snuff out? Is she the hero you hoped for? Or simply a girl cursed with too much fire, too much life, too much destiny for the world to contain? Her eyes meet his one last time before she turns, not defiantly, not angrily, but with the quiet certainty of someone who knows her own power. The wind picks up, stirring her hair around her face, carrying her silver glow into the trees, into the night, leaving only the echo of possibility, the promise of a storm yet to come. And to you, listening now, caught in the shadows of this tale, if her story lit a spark inside you, if her rise against betrayal and fear made your heart race, then subscribe to Moonlight Mate's story, because here, destinies do not wait. They burn, always beneath the moon. She moves through the forest like a shadow stitched from silver and storm. Each step presses into the wet earth, soft leaves and broken twigs crunching beneath her boots. Yet every sound seems amplified, every rustle a warning, every whisper a threat. Her body hums with residual power, the silver flame within her pulse still lingering, a quiet reminder that she is no longer the girl who ran. She is something else now, something inevitable. Eyes glint between the trees. Not one, not two, but many. Hidden predators, unseen watchers, ancient enemies biding their time. She senses them, but does not flinch. Not yet. A whisper cuts through the wind, low and knowing. She is not the only one. Her stomach tightens. She understands in that sudden moment that the world is shifting, that her story is just a spark in a wildfire yet to come. The moon dims above, as though the sky itself hesitates, reluctant to shine on a destiny it cannot fully comprehend. Shadows stretch unnaturally, curling toward her, some living, some lingering memories, some prophecy made flesh. A second whisper follows, colder this time, threaded with promise and threat. The true alpha hasn't risen. Yet. Her eyes narrow, silver flame flickering beneath her skin as the forest exhales around her. She is alone, yes, but not powerless. Every nerve, and every heartbeat, every tremor of the ground beneath her announces that the night is hers to claim, that vengeance, love, and fate are all converging like a storm on the horizon. And as the camera of your imagination lingers on her silhouette, receding into darkness, the screen fades, but the tension does not. Because of her story, this fight, it has only just begun.